Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
And do some final text checking. All right.
Turn off vibration. Also on my phone.
I was about to say, okay, I'm not gonna ask what's vibrating, but okay.
Well,
Jake-
nothing now.
Jake-
I'm focused.
Jake's practicing on how to cheat against chess grandmasters.
Yeah.
There you go.
Underskin vibrating probe.
Yep. With that being said, welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake contemplating how I'm going to edit this.
This is Fleric.
And this is Mac. I know exactly how I'm editing this one.
Yeah,
None
probably
at
just
all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the usual no effort edit.
Clearly,
is, I think what we go for. Yeah.
We might cut off part of the Ryan just swearing like a sailor at his wife to shut up so that he can do his recording.
Listen, sometimes the wife and kids got to be put in place so that daddy can make bread.
Ooh, and now that has been recorded for everybody to hear forever. Well done, Ryan.
And as soon as we get that GSP soundboard up and running, so daddy can
Yes.
get that bread is absolutely going on there.
Well-known misogynist and child hater Ryan.
Yep. That's the
Clearly.
one. That's why I listen to this show.
But Fleric, I do believe you need to provide Jake with a better introduction.
Oh yeah, I forgot that this is still part of the thing. But
yes, it is.
as the not so surprised Sukebito myself, I am going to the ever vibrating Yokozuna Jake. Welcome to the podcast. Who was surprised that he won today because like many of us that Wakataka Kage got a Jun Yusho as well. So
Yes.
Just kind of snuck up on us.
I had done the math yesterday and was like, never mind. Well, at least I'm not losing. That was kind of where I was at. And then everybody except for Fleric, who is in the absolute garbage tier, we all ended up really close. So just that one little extra bit there for Wakataka Kage did it for me.
That's right.
This has to be one of the most low-scoring predictions that we have had to date, where especially with none of us chose the actual winner, and we were surprised by I guess Wakataka Kage Jun Yusho?
Yeah.
Like what is it? If not for Aki truly is the what the hell basho of all of them. Because it always
less
changes.
nuts than normal, I feel like.
we at least had exciting matches. But
Yeah,
it was
that is true.
I like you said though, like we did not really pick the winner at all. It was
Well, when it comes down to
Tamawashi?
Maegashira 3 and Maegashira 4 on the last
Yeah.
day.
Right.
it was pretty wacky. I agree with Mac on that.
It was wacky, but when it comes down to it, Tamawashi is the winner that we'll remember, and that's happened before. It's not that crazy.
Yeah, at least he's won one before.
There wasn't the one that I always remember is just the epic collapse of Goedo in the last 5 days in 2017. Like that was the wackiest of wackies.
Absolutely. Yeah. The high point of my sumo watching career, and it will never be topped.
Also,
It
the very
almost got
first
topped
show we
today.
ever did. So
Yeah.
Also true. The
Yeah.
very first one we've ever done.
I will say I think it could have been topped this basho if maybe a certain hype train actually continued all the way to the end.
Yep.
Wait, which one? There were several.
Well, I think Fleric's probably referencing the official Hokuto Fuji hype
that
train.
one.
Yeah, we all knew where that one was going. I just wanted to enjoy it as much as I could for as long as I could.
yeah.
Mhm.
Ugh.
I like how they made.
He waited until day 14 to completely get out of the race. So
Mhm.
He
that's
kept that
longer
hope.
than
Yeah.
that's a lot longer than we usually get with Hokuto Fuji.
I see
Yeah.
you're wearing your Vikings jersey, and I have my Takayasu t-shirt and my Takayasu banner and Tagata. We're there. We get it. We understand.
We
I'm not even sad
understand.
this time, you know?
Yeah,
No.
we're used to it. This is
This
home.
is what we do.
I do feel comfortable. This is how sports are.
The Vikings play the Lions later today. They'll probably lose, and you know what?
Guarantee it.
That's just Vikings football, baby. If you don't like that,
Anyway, let's get back to sumo.
Before we get
Why?
into it, couple quick announcements. As I've been trying to do lately, a real quick overview of the amateur sumo calendar. Coming up on the 1st of October, we have the Beer City Open in Grand Rapids, Michigan on, let's see, so October 1st, that's a Saturday. Tournament starts at 1 p.m. on a actual clay dohyo, which is in the process of being constructed right now. You can still sign up for that one if you are within driving distance or whatever. That's going to be fun. I'm going to be there. We are still working through a couple kinks because of the location. So that one will either be live streamed on the GSB YouTube channel, or it will be rebroadcast later in the evening, depending on if we have Wi-Fi at the site. But either way, we'll make sure that that's announced on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, all the junk before that happens. The following week in New Jersey is Sumo Dan's All-American Sumo Classic at the Mr. America convention. Going to be a real high profile, but that one's invite only. So they have their competitors set, and I'm not sure how to watch that one, but hopefully there will be announcements coming up. That one might be just a record and rebroadcast the next day or something kind of deal. On October 15th, the very first official sumo event in Iowa, as far as any of us is concerned, will be the Quad Cities training session. And that is run by our friend from the Swiss Sumo Federation, Richard Neal. Jake and Mac will be at that one. And if we can convince Ryan and Flair to go, we'll see what we can do about that. And last but not least, the only other one that I have on the calendar officially, if I missed anything, please let us know. But the Texas Open on November 12th. That one is in Houston. I will be at that one as well. That is the absolute scraping the bottom of the barrel of the travel budget. But we made it happen. And that one, the plan is because it is Texas, that one will be in the evening, but it will be live streamed with commentary and such.
Jake, you're on a roll. Why don't you tell everybody about Patreon?
You know, as long as I'm talking and I'm the Yokozuna and this is my episode, just stay out of my way. I'll just go through the outline myself and I'll let you know when I need you.
Absolutely.
But
What great Supari, Jake.
Supari. Norawa.
Yeah, what's the Kimarite when you grab somebody's microphone and hit them with it?
Harama Fuji.
Good call.
Thank you very much.
Deep cut.
Yeah. I believe that is called Intai. Yes.
Yes, it's called Intai.
Oh, what were we doing? Patreon.
Patreon.
Help support GSB on Patreon. We will compliment you every basho, which is, more than worth your money. But all of the money goes back into the show, helps us expand things, do cool stuff like pay for Zoom so that we don't have to go to each other's houses and stuff. That killer, by the way. But so for this episode, I want to shout out Willie Yan, Rod Lunsford, Andrew Huntington, Jens Tho, Michael Chung, Justice Victor, Austin, Rob Lunsford. Oh, they're on the same episode. That's too bad.
They're on the same episode. This is not good.
Nikki Shands, Daniel Roberts, Jeffrey Armando, DK, King Arthur, Benedict Bull. Oh, King Arthur, my liege.
My liege.
Axel Beria Vesio, and Moshe Gearu. When I crack a smile after winning on day 15, even though it's inappropriate, it's you I'm thinking of.
Show your hinkaku, Jake. Well, you are Yokozuna. Therefore, I suppose it's acceptable.
I already have shown enough. I got free reign, baby. But that's a reference to the Tobi Zaru match from today, which was pretty
That
good.
was good.
But we will talk about that one later.
Absolutely.
Ryan, I will grant you the privilege of continuing through the outline.
This has to be grinding his gears.
I yield the floor temporarily.
I generously accept.
Ooh.
So your Yusho winner, as we already mentioned for this basho, is Maegashira 3 Tamawashi. Haven't had the time to do the research to figure out how often we've
we have one more announcement. At the end of the episode, we will have a brief review of The Way of Salt. This is a book by Australian Ash Warren, who has lived in Japan for like 30 years or so now. And it is a exploration of Japanese culture through the lens of sumo. I really liked it. I'll talk about it more at length at the very end. And there should be a timestamp in the description if I did my job.
Very big if.
Very big if. I am the
about to
Yokozuna though, so I gotta carry the weight of you three. But I apologize. I should have had that on the list. Ryan, You may speak once more.
Once again, greatly appreciated
This
for
is gonna
the
get
honor
old
to
real
speak in
fast.
your
This is gonna get bad.
Maegashira 3, your Yusho winner, Tamawashi. Haven't had the time to do the research yet, but it's at least the first time in a very long time we've had back-to-back Maegashira Yusho winners, if not the first time. He had a 13-2 record to take home his second career Yusho. I believe he is now one of 2 Rikishi to have multiple Yusho in their careers and never reach the rank of Ozeki. And Tamawashi has been dynamite recently, so I'm going to say so far for Tamawashi. Not going to rule it out.
No.
Yeah, no, I did some research on this back when Mitakeumi was a Sekiwake, and nobody has ever. There are a couple. I think it's single digits, but I think there's maybe like 5 to 8 ish people who have like ever won multiple Yusho without hitting Ozeki. But nobody has ever done 3 basho without hitting Ozeki.
Yeah.
So that I remember researching that because Mitakeumi was like on the verge of that at some point.
1991 in September, in July, Maegashira 13, Koto Fuji won a Yusho, followed by in September, Maegashira 5, Koto Nishiki won a Yusho. So it is not the first time that it's happened, but the first time in at least 31 years, back-to-back Maegashira Yusho.
Wow.
We had a triumvirate of June Yusho winners. We had Sekiwake Wakataka Kage with his first career June Yusho, an 11-4 record. We had Maegashira 4 Takayasu, who was 11-4, and his 6th career June Yusho. And then you had Maegashira 11 Ryuden, who the quietest June Yusho I think I've ever seen. His first career June Yusho. He started 1-4, and then it just quietly won the rest of his matches. His final
Right under
10
the
matches
radar.
to finish 11-4 and get a share of that June Yusho.
He only faced 3 guys that were single digits of Maegashira. So like, like come on.
Because he started
But
1-4,
well done.
he was never really in the Yusho race, so they didn't have to vault him up like Hokuto Fuji got vaulted up into the higher ranks, like Nishiki Fuji got vaulted up into the higher ranks. Ryuda never got that, so he just got to coast to that 11-4 record.
It's got to be the new meta. Like
Yes,
this is
absolutely.
a great game breaker right here.
Yeah. Special prizes got a handful of these this time. The Gino Show Technique Prize goes to Sekiwake Wakataka Kage. This is his 3rd career technique prize and his 3rd special prize overall. We had 2 Shukunsho Outstanding Performance prizes awarded. The first one to Maegashira 1 Tobi Zaru. This is his 1st career Outstanding Performance prize. This was probably given to him due to his double-digit wins and his victory over Terano Fuji, and his 2nd special prize overall. Let's stop down on Tobi Zaru real quick. Who was expecting this?
No.
Nope.
Because I mean, the last time we saw Tobi Zaru up this high in the rankings, he was Maegashira 2, got a 5-10 record, got one of the greatest under demotions of all time, only fell to Maegashira 3.
Oh, that's right.
Followed it up with a 4-11 record, and then he hasn't been back in the joy since. And then he comes up to Maegashira 1 and a 10-5 record with a keen boshi. Absolutely, I'm gonna say stunning performance from Tobi Zaru here. He's gonna be in the Sanyaku ranks next basho,
And gonna follow it up with another 4-11.
I think so.
Sorry.
Even if he does, Tobi Zaru is like just pure television. Because even with that 10-5, you know who one of those 5 was? Shodai on day 1. Like, come on, what? And then he goes on to beat Terano Fuji the next day. And then he goes 1-1 against the other 2 Ozeki. I don't.
What do you want? What do you want?
I don't know. But I know that I say this about a lot of guys. I think now, but like I'll always watch because like it's not only are the matches exciting, but I have no idea what is going to happen.
It's the same with Ura. I mean, that's why I keep going back to Ura because it's like, what is he gonna do? What's gonna happen?
Mac, I go back to you saying, what do I want in reference to like Tobi Zaru and stuff?
Yeah, what do you want?
I want a stronger Sanyaku.
No, you're not gonna get it. That's not what sumo is.
We have it for a couple bashos, but this basho, oh my goodness.
I don't know. I'm starting to be like, yeah, they all got winning records, but they're all like 8 and 9 wins. Like, and they can't knock down the people in the joy. So I don't know. We might be able to get into that a little bit later.
We're in a flux. We're in a flux situation right now.
There's
This basho
absolutely-
starting to sour me a little bit on our current.
Yeah.
I'm with you
I
there.
mean, we can get into it more later, but the amount of parody, like there's not some big shelf between Maegashira and Sanyaku anymore, and that's it's going to be a wild period here before things like solidify a little bit more, and we have like the Mitakiyumis in like the long-term Sekiwaki slot. You know, like I don't know, we'll see.
Well, clearly don't promote him up to ozeki because, yeah, that's bad.
No, like we said on the midway, the universe is just correcting itself and putting the Takayumi back at Sekiwaki.
Also taking home a Shuken Outstanding Performance Prize is your Yusho winner, Maegashira 3, Tamawashi. This is his second career Outstanding Performance Prize. It's very surprising to me, only his fourth special prize overall.
Really?
Yeah, so very surprising to me. But then you have your Kanto Show Fighting Spirit Prize. This goes to Maegashira 4, Takayasu. This is his 6th career Fighting Spirit Prize and his 11th overall. I almost kind of expected Tamawashi would have been kind of in that like upper single digit range, like 8, 9, 10 range for special prizes. But yeah, only 4 for him.
And 2 of those, and his other 2 came on his last Yusho.
Yeah.
Quick note for this one. I think this was honestly Jake's tournament here. I mean, he got the surprise Yokozuna. I mean, that's really good. He got to see Takayasu come out and do well, and Takayasu got a prize. Plus, hey, bravo, well done, Jake. I have to think that you have to be really happy with this tournament.
I mean, we're teetering on that precipice of optimism before the Takayasu love comes back strong and it becomes a disappointment. But
what does it say on your wall? What
Yeah.
does it say on your shirt?
Yeah, Takayasu. So that
Exactly.
means that I should be sad though.
No.
Right? I'm
There's-
confused, and I'm gonna take that in a positive way.
There is
Oh my
one
goodness.
thing.
Great verbal Watanage Yokozuna Jake.
Thank you, Sukebito.
There's one thing we know for sure about Takayasu is watch out for that guy when he has sat out a basho due to COVID.
Yes.
The last 2 times it's happened, 11-4, 12-3.
Yep.
Might be June Yushos in both of those. So watch out for him there.
Yes, it has.
It is
2 junior shows.
fantastic ozeki performance right there from Takayasu.
Oh,
Every other basho, let's go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's talk a little bit more about how the Yusho was won by Mr. Tamawashi himself. So Hokuto Fuji was your leader after 9 days. He was 9-0, but he did lose his first match on day 10. And at that point, him and Tamawashi had a share of the lead at 9-1. And Tamawashi never looked back. After day 11, Tamawashi was the sole leader, and he would remain the sole leader at the top of the Bansuke until the end of the basho. Things did get interesting on day 15. Hokuto Fuji just couldn't keep pace, but Takayasu was always lurking in the shadows, just one win behind Tamawashi, and we got the climactic matchup on day 15. Well, kind of climactic, because then there was like 5 or 6 matches after Tamawashi versus Takayasu.
Yeah.
I was disappointed with that. I was like, why didn't you leave that for the Senshiraku match? Why?
That's not how they roll.
It's not how it works, but at the same time, like, who cared at that point, right? Like, I mean, there were a couple, like, you know, of course, if you have your favorite wrestler wrestling, you're gonna want to watch it, but like, nothing was really on the line anymore, and it was just kind of coasting.
The only thing on the line was Hoshoryu Kachikoshi or not, because he was 7-7.
Sure.
That was the last thing on the line after that. It was interesting scheduling. I think this is the first time. So the highest ranked Rikishi in that match between Tamawashi and Takayasu was Tamawashi at Maegashira 3. And so typically the matches go in order of like the highest ranked Rikishi in the whoever the highest ranked Rikishi in the match is, like, going down. So if the highest ranked Rikishi in the match is Yokozuna, he's going to have the last match, and then it'll be the Ozeki and the Sekiwaki and Komusubi, Maegashira 1 through blah, blah, blah. But on the final day, they did shift things around a little bit to put this match after all the Maegashira 1 and Maegashira 2 matches, which is the first time I've ever seen them move a match around, kind of. So they were kind of building up the drama a little bit, but they couldn't have them overpass the Sanyaku Rikishi.
I think a lot of that is a lot of this sponsors, like the little kind of banners. A lot of companies put sponsorships on the last match of the day. And so usually that goes to the Yokozuna, being the Yokozuna to get all that sponsorship money if they win. And if not, then like you say, it's ozeki. So you would definitely ruffle some feathers if you give it to some lowly Maegashira that have the deciding match of the basho.
Did you see those fat stacks that Takakeisho got?
Oh,
after
those
beating
were fat
Shodai,
stacks.
for the final match of the day? That was a lot of money for a
Frickin'
Takakeisho
bricks.
Shodai match.
Ooh.
But yeah, so we had Tamawashi versus Takayasu on the final day, and it was fairly simple. If Tamawashi wins, he takes the Yusho outright. If Takayasu wins, he would force a playoff between the two Rikishi at 12-3. Because we aren't allowed to have fun, the simple thing happened, and Tamawashi won. No playoff required whatsoever.
In like a fine match. It wasn't even like an epic struggle or anything. It was like
Tamawashi got the
stronger and he wins.
Yeah, Tamawashi got the Nodowa on Takayasu, was able to keep him away from him and pushed him out.
It worked.
Yeah.
Pretty
I will
straightforward.
say, shout out to Takayasu for not getting my hopes even higher. And just if he's not going to do it, just lose the first match, man. Don't make it harder on me. I'm the Yokozuna. I can't take that right now.
So Tamawashi, let's do a little bit of a check-in on Tamawashi. Since his last Yusho in January of 2019, he's kind of had a little bit of a career resurgence this past year. So after his Yusho win, he kind of lost the spark that he had maintained for the previous 2.5 years leading up to that Yusho, where he was a Sanyaku Joy mainstay that entire time. Following his Yusho, he was only able to get a Kachikoshi and 4 basho out of the 13 following his Yusho, and he dropped all the way down to the Maegashira 10 rank, which was the lowest he had been ranked since 2016. But after he hit that Maegashira 10 rank, he's kind of been resurgent, and he's been in the joy for the bulk of this year. I mean, he's been like Maegashira 3 4 out of the past 5 basho. 4 out of the last 6 basho, he started 6 and 2 or better. Typically fades a little bit in week 2, but this time he was able to keep that strength up for all 15 days and came out with a very impressive Yusho win. I mean, he was dominating in every single match that he won, only dropping 2 matches to the Waka Bros. Waka Takakage and Waka Motoharu are his only losses this basho. He also surpasses Kyoku Tenho as the oldest Yusho winner in modern times at 37 years and 10 months. This guy is going to be 38 years old when the Kyushu Basho rolls around in November, and he just won a freaking Yusho.
Well
It'll
done.
be nice. In addition to his Kensho envelopes, he'll also get his Social Security check.
Yeah. So Fleric, just what are your overall thoughts on Tamawashi winning his second Yusho?
I think he's slipping his old age. I think he's trying to just kind of like be mediocre, the entire time, like not make too many waves. But like as he gets older, he's like letting these Yushos just slip out. Like I think he's losing it. Retirement is just gonna happen as soon as he gets that Yokozuna promotion when he knows he's truly washed. But no, I think this is the first time I think we had it. I think a lot of people were kind of like, this was not like him winning Yusho the first time he did that. I think a lot of us were kind of like, oh, that happened, and we weren't really like as surprised. It didn't have like as good of a story that Tokishoryu that had when he did it. So it was like, oh yeah, Tamawashi did it, and then afterwards, like he had like a 5 and 10 like right after, like just mediocrity. But like it happened again, like this is, I'm actually kind of a little bit more hype on this, especially that he's like 37, almost 38, like in a couple months. I don't know, that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about this guy. I'm pretty happy about this. I hope he can do it again. But although I'm kind of feeling like he might retire very, very soon, like he seems like he doesn't like the spotlight too much, I guess. We'll see. His interview, like winning, was like the most like stereotypical, like boring thing ever. Is like, oh, how are you feeling right now? It literally was,
old
I am
hat
happy
for him at this point.
It is.
He's done it before. It's never as exciting the second time around.
Yeah. But I'm a little bit more hype on this guy, I guess. I'm kind of happy he got another one. This kind of adds to his story, which I'm. we'll see how much more of the story we get from him.
Here's a question: where would you rank him? Like, would you? We've had this silly discussion. Brian's already rolling his eyes at me.
Well, yeah,
We've
because
had
I'm
this-
because I'm thinking to myself, it's like probably absurdly high.
Where would you rank him? Like, would you put him in the Hall of Fame? If Sumo had this discussion that we have had before, where somebody who has reached ozeki like Shodai, everyone is like, no,
No.
but Tamawashi probably has a stronger resume than Shodai at this point, doesn't he?
Tamawashi has the longevity to go along with the 2 Yushos, and
Yeah.
I think his extreme longevity and I think his 2 Yushos that gets him like not first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's that guy that like 9-10 years after he's retired, he's like, all right, it's time for you to get in. That so borderline, maybe not even borderline. I think definitely Hall of Famer, just not first ballot.
Sure.
The big
And
thing for
Shodai,
him,
no, not Hall of Famer still.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, some guys it takes until they're 35 to start winning championships. So maybe Shodai has some time left here.
And I do have a theory we'll get to at the end of the spa show that I think could net Shodai 2 Yusho by the end of next year. But we'll get to that.
Oh boy.
but I
don't-
think one of
don't
the
know.
I think one of the one things that Tamawashi does have going for me is he's one of the Iron Man people who like who's like never like missed a day. He did like he was like forced to be stepping out for COVID.
Yep.
Like officially the record keepers of the Sumo Association decided to not count that against him. So his like record's gonna keep on continuing from then, because I guess like they like to honor people who just like to stick stuff out. Even though I think our sensibilities are more so towards we think it's smart if you do actually try to rest. But like that is definitely something that probably makes him stand out a lot. And just also getting like the oldest Yusho wins at 37. We'll see if that ever happens again. I don't know. We'll see how that goes on the Hall of Fame, I guess, for me.
Yeah, I think overall we got a comment this morning on Twitter. It's like, now the GSB guys will finally show some respect to my boy Tamawashi. You know what? Based
Fair.
on how we talked about him for like the first 2.5 years after he won his Yusho, that's fair. But I do think we've kind of like we've been looking at him this past year. We've like had to talk about him in the leaderboard like every single basho on the midway episodes because he's always been up there. And I think this past year we've kind of come around on Tamawashi, probably because he is getting up there in age, and it's so amazing that he's still able to do this. So I think we have come around on Mr. Tamawashi a lot more this past year, and I do appreciate this Yusho a lot more than I did his previous one, and I'm not overly upset about this Maegashira Yusho. I'm just gonna kind of be in the time of this is chaos, embrace it.
Embrace the chaos.
I'll get into later like how chaotic this Bonsuke could be come January if things go wrongly.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. The first one, it kind of felt like he was like, you know, we always try to look at it from a storyline perspective, whether that's right or wrong. You know, that's just kind of our natural inclination. And the first time it was like if somebody had written the basho that he won the first one, it was like it felt like they just gave up and they're like, I guess Tamawashi's there.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
guess
whatever.
so.
So it just didn't feel like there was anywhere to go from there. It didn't feel like he had like much time left to really like have a story. And then of course he then goes on and wins one while he's 2 years older. 3 years older, whatever.
3 years older.
3 years.
But yeah, I mean, I think the other thing that has helped us come around is that it's been a little bit of time since he crippled some poor innocent wrestler with his filthy armbar tap.
Kotanages of death.
Yeah.
And,
The summer of 2019 was brutal for Tamawashi.
3. It was 3 Rikishi that he did it to.
were we there? Was it the day that we were there in person that he busted Takayasu?
Yes.
Was, yeah.
I think I remember like everything was bad about the day that we went to see Sumo as far
Yes.
as the actual Sumo sucked. Like yeah, that's right. Cause it was also the day that the American
Musashi
pulled out.
Kuni.
Yep,
Musashi Kuni, thank you. He like pulled out the day that we were there. And then
It was like, no.
and then was it Goedo pulled out on that same
And
day.
Goedo
So
was
not
out
even
too.
was
boo
okay.
Goedo in person.
That part was okay.
You were Ryan was
I see.
denied.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that if Tamawashi went on another, even with all this goodwill that he's built up, if he just busted a few more elbows, I mean, we'd be back to being pretty negative on the guy.
That's true. I actually, with all this propaganda, I forgot that he was the one who destroyed Takayasu's elbow and other people's elbows too.
He
I'm pretty
did
sure
it 3
there's.
I think
days
he
in a
also
row.
ended Tochinoshin's
Yes.
ozeki career as well. It wasn't an elbow. I think it was just Tochinoshin got a toe injury or something in the match. But yeah, Tamawashi ended 2 ozeki careers.
Yes.
But
All right, I hate him again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rage.
That's enough talk about our Yusho winner, Tamawashi, because as fun as this old timer Yusho is, it's not what this basho is going to be remembered for. This basho is going to be remembered for the henkas. And
God.
Takakeisho just opened up the floodgates on day 12, but let's start
Oh.
with Takakeisho completing his absolute heel turn this basho that
I
some
didn't know he
say-
could move that fast.
Yeah, no kidding. A heel turn that some say started back in the last basho where he was being a little bit of a diva about the hair pull against Ichinojo, which his hair was absolutely pulled. He wasn't
Yes.
lying, but people like don't make a show of it. You're an ozeki. You're better than that. So day 12, it was Hokuto Fuji versus Takakeisho, and it probably the most controversial henka since our all-time favorite henka in Natsu 2019 when Tochinoshin henka'd Yokozuna Kakuryu and cost Kakuryu the Yusho, and
Yes.
also got Tochinoshin re-promoted to ozeki. So Takakeisho is an ozeki. The general sentiment is
So good.
in sumo, henka bad. But
Hanka bad.
understandable, people do it unless you're an ozeki or a yokozuna or you're facing an ozeki or yokozuna, then it's very, 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 very frowned upon. So Takakeisho is facing Hokuto Fuji, who is tied for the lead at this point, and Takakeisho just hits him with an undeniably beautiful hanka. Whether you like hankas or not, whether you like Takakeisho or not, just beautiful. Hokuto Fuji flew by, hit nothing. Oh, it was
Technically,
perfection.
Well
And
done.
perfect, yeah.
Technically perfect.
So, Mac, what are your thoughts on Takakeisho pulling a henka in that spot?
It was again, it was one of those I'm like, I am ready for a head-on match. I am ready for two guys to go head to head. I want some Supari flying. I want some massive slaps. I want to see Takakeisho's massive haymakers going against Hokuto Fuji's massive shoves. And I was blue-balled. That I did not appreciate that at all from that perspective. However, from a gamesmanship perspective, well done. I mean, I know we're controversial on the show because while we don't necessarily endorse Hanko, we respect them as legitimate ways of winning. I mean, we don't endorse them all the time, but in this case, it was the right move for Takakeisho. He hadn't been looking all that great, and
He finished 10-5.
but I don't think this was one of his best performances. Finishing 10-5, okay, but he didn't look like the hungry Takakeisho of old. And I don't know what's going on with him because of that, but that Hanka was just
Hanka one of his matches.
Yes.
It could have been 11-4.
Well,
We'll get to
technically perfect. I was disappointed with it.
Flarek, I do want to stop down and just on Takakeisho a little bit. He's gotten back-to-back 10-win performances for the first time since the beginning of 2021 for him. But has your opinion on Takakeisho changed after this basho and maybe the last basho, making a show of adjusting his hair, the absolute unnecessary slapping of Koto no Waka? Like, there was like an interview with Koto no Waka either the day of that match or the day after that match, and he was like could barely move his face. And then this henka of Hokuto Fuji. Do you think Takakeisho has turned heel?
Turned heel. I feel like he's maybe been that for a while, but I don't know. It's hard. He definitely was like leaning into that fully this basho, I would say. That henka was just, as a henka lover and also just kind of like probably a little bit more maybe the heel players. I like some of the maybe not the so noble people who just like to do straightforward sumo all the time. I always like the crafty, the dastardly ones. And I would say, yeah, Takageisho is definitely kind of slowly filling into that kind of place for me, especially with like those harites of, like you said, right to the face. He's kind of like, if you get into, like I said on the midway, I can get into a match with him. I could expect like a boxing match against him. Like he's gonna mess you up. And like I just loved it against Hokuto Fuji, because Hokuto Fuji is just probably one of the more noble people. Like, and like you always know what he's gonna do. He's just gonna go straightforward. He's gonna push better. He's going to try harder than the other guy, and then like because he has a power of friendship by his side, he's going to just be able to win that match. And Takakeisha is like, you're just a dumbass. I'm just going to step to the side.
He kind of fills that same niche as like Kota Shogaku used to in some ways, you know, where he's like he's not particularly complicated, he's not particularly unpredictable. He's going to come straight at you. It's going to happen. And he's gonna
try so hard.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's a niche that Takakeisho himself has held for so long. How many times have we seen Takakeisho get sidestepped at the Tachi and immediately slapped down? It's a handful of times that Takakeisho has fallen victim to this himself. Maybe he just got fed up with it finally. It's like, I'm gonna do it in a big spot. I do think this takes a distant third in the high profile henkas that we have seen while we've been watching sumo. We've got the Tochino Shinkakuryu, we've got the Terano Fuji Koto Shogiku. This is probably a distant third to those two, but still probably number 3.
However, in 4th place,
yes,
that exact same
yes, number 4.
The following day, on day 13, absolutely beautiful karma, turning everybody on sumo Twitter into hypocrites just in one day.
Instantly into hypocrites.
Perfect.
Shamelessly.
It was so good.
We got Waka Takakage facing Takakeisho, and Waka Takakage just goes for the bro hanka. I don't know if he's friends with Hokuto Fuji. I don't know if he just doesn't like Takakeisho, but the fact that Waka Takakage hankas Takakeisho the day after Takakeisho hankas Hokuto Fuji was just some sweet justice, and I absolutely loved it so much, because it's not something I feel like we've seen in sumo. That felt like a very distinctively
revenge
Western thing to me.
Throwing the baseball at the opponents, like the other team, after they did something bad to your team or something, right?
That's exactly what I was going to come up with. In baseball, at least in the United States, I don't know how it works in Japan. I highly doubt it works like this in Japan.
I hope it does, because that'd be funny. But yeah, anyways.
There's like an unspoken rule that, like, if your pitcher hits a batter and you think it's intentional, then they're going to come back and hit your guy. It might not be the next day, but they're going to come back months later. Or guy. Yeah.
It could be the next year. The baseball people are insane and don't make any sense, but they definitely remember who hit them with baseballs.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just felt like that. Waka Takakage, he saw Takakeisho do what he did. We've never seen Waka Takakage go for a hanka. He's always been a fairly straightforward kind of guy himself. And to see him kind of do that revenge hanka against Takakeisho is just like, hey, we don't do this up here in these ranks. I'm going to do it just this one time to show you a lesson.
Show you we don't do this.
This isn't how we do things up here. Don't do it again. It was so beautiful. I loved it so much. And yeah, everybody on Twitter, like, oh, Takakeisho, you're the worst person in the world. I hate you. You're absolute worst. Like, hankas are deplorable. How could you do that? Waka Takakage is like, take that, you fucker!
Take that!
Exactly. Yeah, it's like watching day 14 and Takakeisho's match is coming up, or watching day 13. It's like, oh yeah, that awful person. How could he do such a dastardly move? There's no excuse for
There's one excuse.
There's one excuse for doing that kind of activity. Yeah.
And I don't blame anybody on Twitter.
No.
I just think it's fun to point, as a huge hypocrite myself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, by all means, like, I don't think we've ever made it a secret that we are here to be entertained.
Yeah.
We're not, like,
We are here to be sports
shamelessly-
entertained, which we understand isn't the point of sumo, but that's why we're here.
That is
Exactly.
why we're here.
I have a decent amount to say on that later. But when we review The Way of Salt, there's a lot on that topic. But that's not who I am as a sumo guy. So, but yeah, no, I think my mount dodge more. I'll work on it. But like
Work on
the
it.
No, that's pretty good.
the monument carved into a sacred site of a different culture. If you were going to do such a thing for henkas, definitely Tochi no Shinkakuryu and Terano Fuji Kodo Shogaku, as you mentioned, are definitely on there. And then these two are all, I gotta say, I think
They
these
share
are the
like one
top
space.
Yes.
well, yeah, okay. If we can have these two share one space because they're one incident. The other one that I put on there was one that we saw at the U.S. national tournament this year.
Yes.
I have a GIF of this on my Twitter at some point, but the 2 times running national heavyweight champion Jose Galindo is going up against a complete newcomer in open weight, a guy who has just put on
A lightweight, mind you.
a lightweight. And this lightweight is so geared up, and he is all dialed in, and he is going to murder this heavyweight. I don't care how big he is, and Jose just disappears.
Ole, beautiful Ole.
Yeah, and from the camera, especially because this was like we didn't have the production value that Pro Sumo does, of course. So like, there's only the one angle, and from that one angle, it basically looks like Jose just stands up.
Yeah.
Like, and the poor kid just is like off camera, like instantly. So good. Okay, I'm sorry, but if I can put 5 henkas on my Mount Dodgemore, those would be the ones.
So yeah, those 2 hankas opened up the floodgates on day 14 and 15. Maybe they would have happened anyways. Maybe we were just more tuned in to looking out for them. But on day 14, down in Juryo, Gonoyama hit a hanka against a visiting Fuji Seiyun to try to prevent his demotion down to Makushita, as he was 5-8 at the time. Then also on day 14, in the Masubi no Ichiban, the final match of the day, Takara Fuji attempted a hanka against the hapless Shodai, and it was a hapless hanka because he just slowly side tap. Shodai was fast enough, was able to beat Takara Fuji anyways. We got a question on Twitter from Sandre the Giant, the inaugural t-shirt winner from our prediction series.
Sandre.
He asked, like, is that the worst like final match on a day like ever? Because Takara Fuji, I want to get the exact records right, but it was Takara Fuji versus Shodai. They were both 4-10 in the final match. And I did some research, and it looks like that might have been the worst final match of a day ever, because did a search like looking for ozeki with 10 or more losses on the final day, because you're never going to have a Yokozuna that deep with 10 or more losses fighting in the final match.
God, yeah,
It would have to be a situation where the Yokozuna's gone and it's ozeki, and there's never been a time where there's been like matchups between an ozeki with somebody that had 10 or more wins, but it was never the last match. So yeah, I think we can officially call that the worst final match of a day of all time.
Good find.
Good job, Sandre. Good job.
And then
That's depressing.
day 15, Hoshoryu hits a hanka on Endo to secure his 8th win and maintain his Sekiwake rank.
I had so many question marks after this one because I was like, okay, hold on here. Hoshoryu, I know you want to get this win, but to hanka against Endo? Like,
It's the chic thing to do now. It's in vogue.
apparently. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
So yeah,
He's following the meta.
yeah.
Yeah, all right, fair.
So Jake, we've talked about all these unwritten rules of sumo, because hanka, absolutely legal. Somebody could do it every single day if they wanted to.
Chiyoshoma.
And nobody, and
Add
nobody,
a flying, add a jump to your hanka if you want. It's okay.
nobody could stop you. You can do it
No.
every single day. But I think it's more accepted, and just like, yeah, like Chiyoshoma facing Nishikigi on day 13 in a pointless match. Hanka, who cares? But in situations with Yokozuna or Ozeki, or there's Yusho race on the line, or your rank on the line, is there ever a point where you think, come on, really, a hanka?
Nah, I think you should do it all the time. I think at least one wrestler
All day,
should be
every
henkaing
day.
in every match. That would be good sumo. I think that there's, and again, this is something that I actually have a couple bullet points that I'm going to cover in the book review at the end of the episode, but it depends a lot on why are they doing this? Like, what is the point of this guy doing sumo? As I think, like, kind of the root cause of why there's such violently different opinions on whether this is acceptable. Are you doing sumo to like practice the traditional art and like participate in this ancient ritual? Or are you doing it because more wins equals more money? And obviously that's a spectrum. I don't think there's anybody that's purely one end or the other at all costs. Otherwise, Hakuho would have henka'd even more. But like, I mean, on some level, like if it is worth it to you to absorb the criticism that will come your way, if that situation is important enough, if this win is important enough and guaranteed enough, like going against Hokuto Fuji, it's a guaranteed henka. Of course it's going to work, right? Mm-hmm. If you're Takara Fuji and you cannot move sideways physically faster than a snail, that's not a guaranteed win. So like, even if you attempt it, it's going to be kind of it's not a guarantee that you're even going to win, but you'll still probably get some criticism. Yeah. So like, I personally enjoy it more as a sport than as a cultural display. Obviously both, but like I'm closer to that end of the spectrum. So that's definitely colors how excited I am every time there's one of these beautiful works of physical art. But to answer your question, I don't think there's ever a time where a henka should be completely ruled out, but I think it's a spectrum of like, how important is this to the wrestler to get this win? How much criticism are they going to get for it? And third, how much of a guarantee is it that it's actually going to work?
Right.
Yeah. I think our podcast is split a little bit. This is just my feeling. We're all on the side of the coin. Henka, we're okay with it.
At least sometimes it's totally understood. Yeah.
I feel like Jake and Fleric are on the do it whenever, always. Don't care. Don't matter the situation.
Maybe
it's gamesmanship. Maybe
like 60 to 65% on that side as opposed to the other side. Like there's a little of both.
But I think me and Mac are. I really I don't care as much about if Yokozuna or Ozeki do it. I more care about the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we love the Tochinoshin Kakuryu one, but I really feel like don't do it in a Yusho race. Don't affect somebody's Yusho chances. Don't ruin somebody else's chance to win a Yusho. And then I don't like I'm gonna save my rank henka. That's just like, oh, really? Like, yeah,
fight for it. Come on.
I don't respect you. Yeah. That being said, I love Hoshoryu, so it was a brilliant move by him to save his rank.
But again, perfectly happy to be hypocrites. And we make no apologies.
Yep. Why do you think people watch us? To say, okay, who are they going to side with this week?
As a general rule, though, at the one to save rank, I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I guess that. I guess I just I'll say one quick thing on this of where he said where it's like, don't ruin some Yusho race. If they're susceptible to a henka, you're not doing good sumo,
But if you're preparing yourself for a henka every time, then you're just opening yourself up for somebody's strong charge to take you out every time.
Correct. If all you do is stand up waiting for them to try and get out of your way, that kind of throws off your tachiai.
And sumo in most sport, there's a rock, paper, scissors aspect to it. So
I mean, that's
also true.
It's a part of it. True. It's a part of it. It's part of the sport.
All right, great henka discussion, boys. Love it as always.
And after the break, we will continue. We'll get into part 2 of our henka debate.
Yeah, we've talked about our Mount Dodgemore of henkas, but let's fill out the rest of our top 10.
I do really think I can do better than that.
Work on it. You're Yokozuna. Work on it.
We'll talk about our Ozeki a little bit, not too much. They don't deserve a whole lot. Mitake Yumi struggled 4-11, cementing the loss of his Ozeki rank, which he barely held, and will have to get 10 wins as a Sekiwake in the next basho to regain his rank. I don't know how this stacks up against. I know Takakeisho immediately lost it due to injury. I know Tochinoshin lost it pretty quickly, but this has got to be one of the faster demotions after an Ozeki promotion, certainly that we've seen, and probably of all time. It looks like Tochinoshin was demoted after his 5th, and Mitake Yumi's demoted after his 4th. So Taka Keisho's still gonna always lead that.
Yep.
But Mitake Yumi is not going down in the history books for something good here. We'll talk about on the preview if we think he can get 10 wins to get back into Ozeki. But yeah, just he's got to be injured or something, like especially
Something's up.
Especially at the end, he was putting up no fight. I mean, there's no point for him anyways to put up a fight at the end. But even when he was racking up losses like 6, 7, 8, there was very little fight from him. And then we have Shodai, who started 1-4 or worse for his 4th straight basho. He finished with his worst record as an ozeki, which is saying something for Shodai. And he will be Kadoban for the 5th time in just 2 years. Like I said, I haven't had enough time to do the research on this yet, but that's got to be some sort of record.
He has been an ozeki about 4 times as much as Mitake Yumi has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is shocking to me. God.
He's going to be ozeki for the 13th basho in November. We know he'll be ozeki then. If he can manage to get
Stave
a
off
winning record,
Kadoban.
he will match Takeyasu's stint as an ozeki, which just feels fundamentally wrong.
Ooh. I
Hey,
don't know how I
Flair.
feel about that. I don't like that.
Flarek, what's my rank?
It's Yokozuna, of course.
I
Yokozuna Jake.
feel moderately better.
Yeah, I didn't say that as a way to disparage Takayasu. Takayasu would still be ozeki if he did not get those injuries. It was just kind of a way to say, like, how has Shodai been ozeki for almost as long as Takayasu?
Yes.
You didn't mean it that way, but
It's how you took it. I
But
apologize. This is your day, and I don't mean to bring you down.
just don't let it happen again.
I will do my best. But lucky for Shodai, I've been tracking him. We could chart the results of his next year of bashos, and it looks pretty good for him. So over the past year, he has had inverse records in back-to-back bashos. That means like an 8-7 followed by 7-8, or vice versa. And his record is consistently moving more towards the extreme with each inverse pair. So in January, he went 6-9. And then in March, he went 9-6, an inverse pair. Then in May, he went 5-10. And in July, he went 10-5, an inverse pair, getting a little bit more extreme. He has now gone 4-11, which means in November, he's going to go 11-4. We're going to continue moving out more and more extreme until next year in November, he's going to finish the year with a 14-1 record, probably a Yusho. And also he'll probably get a 13-2 record in July, which will also probably be good enough for a Yusho. So congratulations, Shodai. He's going to be a 3-time Yusho winner by the end of next year.
And
That's just facts.
I think on that same timeline, if it goes how we expect it, by May of 2024, he will ascend to sumo godhood at 16-0.
Surpassing Hakuho as the Dai Yokozuna. Like,
What will
yes.
happen is we're going to have a scenario like my critically acclaimed Defying Gravity parody where
Yeah.
Takeyama,
Show me my respect. Give me my respect.
Takeyama, who's going to go down to Juryo after this basho, he'll make it back up into the top division. They'll both go 15-0. They can't have fought each other because they're in the same division. And then Shodai will get his 16-0 record by beating Takeyama in the playoff. I don't know how he went 0-16 to get the 16-0 inverse, but it's Shodai. He'll find a way.
He
He'll
needed
find a
a
way
playoff
to do
see
it.
who was the worst
Yeah.
in that basho, so they gave him a 16th match. Oh, and
A Hattori
and
Sakura match.
one correction, I think you misread that that it's not critically acclaimed, it was critically acknowledged.
Yes.
There's
Acknowledged.
song parody. The
Hey.
critics were like, wow, that was one of the songs that has been sung.
Your wife had very good words to say about it. She enjoyed it thoroughly.
It was a punishment that was basically for her.
Yeah.
You are embarrassed, reference to Wicked, and it's a song.
Done.
That was tailor-made for my wife to enjoy, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit more about one of our June Yusho winners, Waka Takakage. Could he be coming to the rescue of the Ozeki ranks? So he finished with an 11-4 record after an 0-3 start. So kind of much like Ryuden, never really in the Yusho race, but here he is sitting with a June Yusho. So here's the potential dire situation we're looking at with our top ranks in sumo. Mitake Yumi is not going to be an ozeki. We're just going to have Shodai and Takakeisho in November. If somehow Shodai breaks from the pattern that we have laid out for him and does
Clearly your
losing,
numbers agree.
yeah, and does not get a losing record, and Mitake Yumi doesn't get the 10 wins needed to regain his ozeki rank, we would be left with just one ozeki in January. We haven't mentioned Terano Fuji much, if at all, yet, but he's got some serious leg issues that we knew would be coming up. Who knows if he's even going to be around in January, where if we had one ozeki, the Yokozuna would fill in as Yokozuna ozeki on the Bansuke rankings, because the rule is you always have to have two ozeki. So
one on each side minimum.
Yep. East and West.
We're looking at a very plausible situation in January where we have sole ozeki Takakeisho at the top of the Bansuke standings. So Wakataka Kage is coming off of an 8-win basho and now an 11-win basho, 19/2. But we've seen this before. If he gets like 12 or 13, could very well be in line for ozeki promotion. I think it's possible he might not even need that based on the circumstances around him. I think he could get a very soft ozeki promotion after next basho if he gets 10 or 11 wins, just to make sure we're going to have two ozeki in
I could see that.
January basho. And you
Yeah,
know what?
and I don't see him necessarily, even if he makes it there, I don't necessarily see him as he's no guarantee that he's going to be a long-term successful ozeki either. He's had
He should at least be
records.
more consistent than the guys we've had.
Yeah, it has been since last July July of 2021 that he's had a losing record. But like it's still like, I don't know, it's always hard post Hakuho because nobody is that dominant anymore. So like what is dominant enough to like, you know, stay at ozeki, or even without a long-term injury? He seems like, I don't know. I'm optimistic, but he's no surefire bet that he'll be any better of an ozeki than any of the other guys.
Yeah. Are you saying he needs like what, like a 13 win? Like for
Technically,
3-2?
Technically 14 would get him to
I
the
was gonna say.
33, but we've seen
So-
multiple instances of 8, 11, 13 recently getting
Okay.
you the promotion.
Okay, so
But
he still
I'm
has to get
thinking,
have
I'm
a
thinking
really
not
good
even
basho.
I'm thinking not even 13 might be necessary, depending on what happens with Mitake Yumi and Shodai and Terano Fuji. I'm thinking maybe 11 could do it. It's just kind of an unprecedented scenario.
Just
It's
the 30. Hit that 30
I would
mark.
say 12 with a Yusho should probably do it.
Mhm.
11 with a Yusho, even that seems like a stretch to me.
That's
but like,
low though.
I don't know. See.
We're barreling towards Bansuke crisis. A lot of things need to go wrong for that to happen.
Yeah.
But we're getting there.
The
We'll see.
ozeki economy is in shambles right now.
It
So like,
absolutely is.
Yeah. I feel like we'll figure out some ozeki Bansuke stuff difference rather than promote someone off of 11 win basho or so. And we'll see. Like if he gets a Yusho, I think that changes the math. But like he needs technically 14 to get the 33 wins over 3 bashos, right?
Yeah.
So if he has 13, I think I agree. Like I think that's a really good basho. But like anything, I don't know, if he like just has another 11, 4, 12 or something, if he isn't like the winner of it, I don't see it happening. Even if there's a Bansuke crisis happening when they're writing it, because they need to have bounce off the basho. I think they'll have like that one. We'll see, I guess. I'm not a Bansuke wizard like you. That just feels wrong. That feels wrong to me.
What we saw with Asanoyama, because we were kind of coming to something similar. This is when we had one ozeki. I think it was Takakeisho, and Kakuryu was Yokozuna ozeki for at least one basho. Asanoyama had 11, 10, and 11 to get his ozeki promotion. That is 32, which would be more than what I'm kind of talking about with Wakataka Kage, but it is a little soft for an ozeki promotion, nothing over 12 wins. So I think they are lenient in the situations where they're down to one ozeki. But that's all hypotheticals right now. After Kyushu, we'll be able to talk a little bit more finer details and see if it's necessary. But let's talk about Terano Fuji and why we might be losing him sometime
Yee.
soon. So he went Kyujo on day 10 following his loss to Takayasu. This was Terunofuji's fourth loss of the basho, all to Maegashira. So Kinboshi all around. The reason given was osteoarthritis in both of his knees and a bone contusion in the right knee. Per Issei Gahama Oyakata, this was all translated by Sumo follower on Twitter. Give her a follow. She is amazing for Sumo News. So Issei Gahama Oyakata said he was in pain for some time, but just bore it and had steroids injected locally. But in hospital, they told him if he injected anymore, it will weaken the ligaments and so on. It's not about resting. He has to properly get it taken care of. If the situation required it, he may need surgery. The inflammation will be gone in a few days, I believe, but he needs to seriously consider what to do next. And that last sentence really makes me wonder how much longer will we have Terunofuji?
Yep, I did not like that phrasing at all.
Nope.
So, Bonsuke Crisis, the clock to midnight is ticking down.
We need to do like a parody of the Watchmen graphic novel.
Yeah.
Where the Yokozuna retiring is like the doomsday clock metaphor.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're like 3 ticks away right now. So Mitake Yumi not getting 10 wins. That's a tick. Shodai getting a losing record. That's a tick. Terunofuji retiring. That's the tick that takes us all the way.
That's it. Midnight. Game over.
And Wakataka Kage is Dr. Manhattan and needing to get that 13th. I don't know. It's breaking down pretty quickly here.
And then if Wakataka Kage gets a losing record in the next basho, then the clock explodes.
Yeah, it blows right up.
The space squid has arrived. Game over.
Yeah. Just real quick on the remaining Rikishi in the Sanyaku ranks, Daisho is going to be dropping to Komosubi. He was Sekiwake, had a 7-8 record. Bayama should stay in the Komosubi ranks after a 9-6 record. Not expecting a Sekiwake promotion for him like Hoshoryu did in the previous basho after a 9-6 record, and both spots were accounted for because we're already going to have 3 Sekiwake with Wakataka Kage, Hoshoryu, and Mitake Yumi. They're not going to make a fourth for Bayama. And then Ichinojo fell asleep to the tune of a 6-9 record, maintaining his trend of his record dropping off by at least 5 wins following an 11+ win basho for him. So is there anybody else that we haven't talked about yet that anybody wants to highlight? Fleric, is there anybody we haven't mentioned yet that we should?
Not off the top of my head. I think we are good.
All right. Mac, what about you?
I got one. So Nishiki Fuji. I think he's going to be one of those to watch. After going 7-5 in the ring at M17 in July, I thought, all right, could be okay. Maybe we'll see what he does. But then from Maegashira 10 going 10-5, legitimate 10-5 in Aki, not bad. So, all right, I think he's going to be one to watch in the future.
All right. I would toss in Midori Fuji. He got a losing record, but he was also somebody that we'd had our eye on as we considered him a lock, to do terribly.
Like
we got
5 wins at the most.
Right. Yeah, he got way over promoted. He's never been even close to this high. He's undersized. He's had injury issues. 7-8 is pretty good for your first try in the joint.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
And I like that he did fine. Tobizaru did great. Meisei and Ura up there also did kind of fine. We might be going for small guy renaissance here. There might be this might be the age of the small boy. We'll see.
Well, the age of the small boy is probably ending in the top division for one small boy. I think he's the smallest boy right now, Terutsu Yoshi. He had a 6-9 record for Maegashira 15. He's likely going to go down to Juryo. He's had a pretty long streak of being in the top division for a guy of his size. So that's likely going to be coming to an end. But the main guy I want to talk about is Oho, and he has a major week 2 problem. This is a guy that when he entered, he was pegged for big things. He's the grandson
possibly
of
even
Taiho.
like above. He and Hoshoryu entered at the same time.
And
And
I
we
think
tied them together because they entered at the same time and they both had like an impressive
Yokozuna
ancestor.
lineage.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And Hoshoryu just absolutely blew Oho out of the water. Maybe 2019 or so? He
Yeah.
was Naya at the time, but Oho stalled out in Makushita for a while.
Yep.
As Hoshoryu has just continued shooting to the top.
But like I said, Oho has a big week 2 problem right now that he really needs to get over. He's been in the Makuuchi division for 4 basho now, and this is the second time in 4 basho where he started 7-3, only to lose his final 5 matches and end up with a 7-8 record. His best performance in the final 5 days in the top division is 2-3. He's 0-5
with one of those being a Fusen.
Ouch.
Yeah. He's 0-5, 0-5, 1-4, and 2-3 in the final 5 days in his 4 Makuuchi basho. He needs to work on his conditioning. He needs to work on his head game. Something's going on with Oho in week 2 he's down in the bottom ranks. It's not like he's reaching to face the top rankers that he should be losing to. This is a mental thing for Oho, I think, at this point.
It's definitely not the strength of competition, because he's facing guys at the beginning and like all throughout the basho roughly of the same level as him.
Mm-hmm.
So something's up.
And one more guy, like what's going on with Sada Noumi? Like 9-6 at Maegashira 5?
Let's
A dark
go.
horse?
Like what's going on here? How's that working?
Coming off of the June Yusho 2 bashos ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he and Tamawashi were both like, okay, just
Let's do
bide
it.
your time until you're 35.
Yeah.
No one expects anything of you at this point. Now,
Uh-huh.
destroy.
Clearly not us, because this is probably the only time his name has even been uttered since that June Yusho.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, it was probably years.
Yeah. All right. So
I don't have anything to say about him. Sorry. That was it,
No.
but, like,
It's just like,
that's
what the
all
heck?
we can say at this point. Like, how is
Yeah.
he doing this? Like, do we need to watch out for like a Miyogiryu renaissance?
ooh.
Like, is he
I
getting
couldn't take
Jun
that.
Yusho the next basho?
I don't know if we could get behind that.
I couldn't take that. I don't have the mental space for a Miyugiryu, a Sadano Umi. Tamawashi is clearly like old guy who does good now. We can't have 2 of those.
Yeah.
No. The bonds case are already in flames.
All right, let's talk about our Yusho winners below the Makuuchi division. In Juryo, we had Tochi Musashi. This is his first Juryo Yusho, and it was also his Juryo debut. He is 23 years old. He debuted in Sandanme in March 2021, and he was previously known as Kano prior to becoming a Sekitori. So Tochi Musashi just kind of rocketing up the ranks after his debut just last year.
Is this the guy that we made the joke about where that sounds like a creator wrestler name?
I'm
I
not
think there's-
sure. No,
there's a-
Tohaku
No, there-
Ryu?
Tohaku
yeah,
Ryu. I think that's the guy that, yeah.
Hakuyu, yeah.
I came across another one. We'll talk about him real briefly in the GSB belt, but Tochi Kamiyama.
Oh,
That,
yeah.
that also sounds
Kamiyama.
like a bag of kanji, and you just like reach in and grab a couple that are popular.
Yes, this one.
I think the ultimate one would be like Koto Chiyo Yama.
yeah. If you get like 2 prefixes in there somehow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. And Makushita, we had not Asanoyama win the Yusho. It was Daiseiryu. He is 29 years old. This is his first career Yusho. He debuted in 2011. He hasn't been below Makushita since January of 2012. He has made it up to Juryo twice, most recently in 2019, but this is a career Makushita guy. Down in Sandanme, Oshoumi. This is his first career Sandanme Yusho, his second Yusho overall. He's 21 years old. He made it to Makushita 7 in just 9 basho before getting injured and dropping down into Jonidan. And this is his first full basho since Aki of says 2019. That can't possibly be right.
No.
Let me see what I meant. Hold on as I stall ever so smoothly. Nobody knows what's
Expertly.
happening. His first full basho since Aki 2021. That makes a lot.
There
more sense.
we go.
right. In Jonidan, Takahashi won his second career Yusho there. His first career Jonidan Yusho. He's 23 years old. This is his second basho, and he's won a Yusho in each of his first 2 basho. But despite that, he is not undefeated as the basho he won down in Jonokuchi was a 6-1 Yusho, not a 7-0. So he's
Shame.
13-1 in his career. And down in Jonokuchi, Otani won the Yusho down there. He's 22 years old, and this was his debut basho. And as we mentioned, Asanoyama did not win the Makushita Yusho, making me look real stupid for taking the stand that it was stupid for other people to say he was not that he would lose a match. So I was wrong. What
Uh-huh.
more? What
What
more
more do you
can
want?
I say?
I don't know.
Alright.
What more can you say?
Now, what more can you say?
I mean,
Hey, I have
that's all I've got.
late
Fine, you so dumb.
submission. I have a late submission to like the most generic of wrestler names. What about Takanoumi?
That's a good one.
That sounds. I swear I've heard of that guy. Right? Like that
Yeah.
sounds like so.
Right.
There's like 3 Yokozuna named Takanoumi at least.
Something like that. Yeah. Like it's got to be out there, right? It has to be. I don't know, that's all I got.
So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the GSB results and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. If you enjoy the Grand Sumo Breakdown podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
You can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search for Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Support the show on Patreon and check out our blog, grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.com.
If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
Also, watch us on YouTube.
Welcome back. We're going to take a quick look at the GSB belt, which, like the Hokuto Fuji train, has also derailed.
Again?
Yes. So for the 3rd time in a row, 4th time in a row, probably 7th or 8th time in a row, the belt is probably going to stay in Makushita. Almost certainly. So nobody, except for Tomokaze once, actually defended the belt this time around.
Oh.
In just this basho, we had 7 different people who held the GSB belt, which is interesting considering that's the number of matches that these guys wrestled. So just purely by coincidence, Tomokaze actually, I'm sure it was an accident that he won, because nobody else bothered to when they had the belt. Belt started on Yago at Makushita 2. Then it went to Tomokaze for 2 matches at Makushita 2. Fuji Seiyun, Makushita 5. Oh no, we're trending poorly. Toki Hayate, Makushita 7. Oh no. Tochi Kamiyama, Makushita 14. Oh no.
This is the division that never ends.
This is the life of our GSB belt now. This is just where we live. But fortunately, our partial savior Shiden won on the final day at Makushita 7. So he's going to be way up there. I don't think he'll make it to Juryo, because I just don't think that, just a quick glance at the Bansuke, I think there's only like maybe 3 guys coming down from Juryo that need to be demoted. And Shiden, even though he ended up at 6-1 from Makushita 7, there's a decent number of guys above him with 4 or sometimes even 5 wins. I just because I'm in that Takayasu / Minnesota Vikings mindset, he's going to end up Makushita 2 or something like that, and then we'll restart the cycle.
That's the trend of how it's been going. It's been since 2011, where a 6-1 record from Makushita 7 was good enough to get up into Juryo. So
it is good enough. Okay,
it is, but it's been a while.
It's been a while.
So more than likely, Makushita 1, Makushita 2. And then we'll just
the bottom of Juryo
start it
was
over
not
again.
super weak. So like I said, I think there's only going to be a couple guys coming down. There's a decent batch of guys coming down from Makuuchi into Juryo, but not necessarily from Juryo into Makushita.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know what? As Yokozuna, I declare my right to continue being primary host here for the next session, because this section is where I talk about how I beat all of you 3 plebes. Flerick, why don't you narrate how you ended up losing this?
Oh, I thought I was so smart going into this. I picked Midori Fuji as the person who's probably going to get destroyed. Oh boy,
Which we've already talked about didn't really happen. He got a Makekoshi, but like he did fine.
Yeah, the worst Makikoshi for me, I guess, in that thing. 7-8, which means the points were ideally not that great. He won a lot of matches, which is not ideal. But by far my worst choice was actually believing in Shodai for once. I it's been like years since I actually believed in him at all, picked him for anything. Like he's done me wrong such a long time. But I just really felt that at this time, and of course, I did not know the law of inverse of where after one basho, the exact opposite's gonna happen. So it's just, yeah, I should have studied. I definitely did not do my homework. I deserve this loss. Should I? Never, ever again. Except maybe like 10 years from now when you're Yokozuna until I believe, and then you'll immediately go 0-15, not pulling out, and then just retiring from there. So I'm sad, but I have only myself to blame.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, so real quick, our second and third place, Mac, you got second place by picking Takakeisho as a champ and Tochinoshin as a chump. Both like decent, fine picks.
I will
Ryan
point out,
Mm-hmm.
I apologize for interrupting you while this is your day. But
that'll be 50 Shiko, but you may continue for now.
You beat Mac by 1 point.
Oh, I was getting there.
Okay.
I was absolutely getting there.
I apologize.
Ryan, he has a plan.
50 more Shiko. So in third place was Ryan, who picked Terano Fuji as his champ and Nishikigi as his chump. That was the best chump pick. So you had that going for you. But Terano Fuji obviously just started kind of weak and pulled out. So he was replaced with Hoshoryu, who again did like fine. So it didn't really blow anybody out of the water. I ended up in first place with Wakataka Kage, who, as Flair mentioned at the beginning, all of us kind of like, well, some of us were like, oh yeah, I guess he did get a Junyu show. So that gave me some bonus points.
And you made that pick to spite me.
Yes. Yeah, of course. As with most things I do.
Yeah.
And my chump was the worst chump pick. I picked Nishiki Fuji, who we mentioned did pretty great. The only thing that carried me through was Wakataka Kage getting a prize, a Junyu show, beating 2 of the other champs. And Ryan, tell us of your folly that has resulted in my glory.
Well, we made a bet on the preview episode. I thought Ichinojo was gonna do good enough to follow up with a Kachikoshi. I felt so positive in that I made a bet to Flaric, who had predicted a 4-11 record. I'm like, that's not gonna happen. I'll take those odds. And Flaric's like, no. But Jake was quick to step in and say, you know what? No, I'll take that bet for Ichinojo Makekoshi. So Jake got the better of me there, got the bonus point, and that was the one bonus point he needed to be ahead of Mac at the end of the day.
I still would have been Yokozuna, but it would have been diminished by sharing it with a commoner.
Now, when did we start this trend of not doing tiebreakers for the winner? I seem to remember like tying like 2 or 3 times, and we had to do a tiebreaker.
We had to do a tiebreaker for those,
and I always lost. But now,
I think you've just answered your own question.
Jake and Flaric are both winners. Kumbaya. We don't need to have an ultimate
Ryan,
winner.
it's because Jake just said it. You answered your own question.
I know,
lost.
But...
I think part of it is you are too competitive to share, so you always demand tiebreakers. Whereas the other 3, as long as we're not sharing it with you, we're happy to be like, all right,
fine.
Or make Ryan angry. Okay, we can get behind this.
Like, all right, that works.
That sounds great. So the punishment for Tsukebito Flaric, for each of the 3 episodes next basho, he has to write and perform an advertisement for like the break in the middle of our episode. And Flaric, the genre, the category that I have selected for you to write your advertisements around is oversized goods for rikishi who are too big to use regular sized things. So
that's a good one.
Take that where you like, but I would like 3 ads for products that are hilariously too big. I'm thinking along the lines of like the comically large wheelchair, things like that, where it's a normal thing, but it's like too big and therefore silly.
All right, it's gonna take a lot of foot to pavement to find these places to see if they actually do have these larger than life things. But I will do that for you, Yokozuna Jake.
I like how foot to pavement is really just fingers to Google.
Yes,
but I get your point.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tsukebito Flaric.
All right, I'll get right on this.
To your work.
Sounds good. Please don't give me more 50 Shiko.
No, only Ryan has the 50 Shiko.
You're right. Fine. I will not give you more than 50 Shiko. That will be 50 Shiko.
No. You're just
Tsukebito, or I guess Maegashira Ryan, take it away with her.
I do have a question about the punishment because
Okay.
Part of the fun of the commercials was all of us recording together. Is the punishment Fleric writing and recording it all on his own, or is it just the writing? And if he wants some help,
I'll pull people in as needed.
Oh,
I
excellent.
guess.
Yeah, we'll go
I'll
with
do a
that.
Sukebito call there.
How about we put the stipulation that
one of us per episode.
we can veto if we don't want to, but in the spirit of things, we should all help Fleric.
Yeah.
Mm.
As long as he has to do all the writing.
All the parts that are work. Yes, exactly.
No. My most
greatest
hated part.
weakness. Yeah.
Fleric at work. No.
Oh man. All right, Maegashira Ryan, what's next?
Our bold prediction results. We always start with our bad predictions, and Edward Serrain, he knew it in the middle of the basho. He said, my God, this was bad. But he said that Shodai would get the best record from all ozeki. And you know what? When you think about it, he wasn't all that far off. He did have the second best record of all ozeki. So
Yeah, no, he wasn't wrong.
not that far off. And he also said Terano Fuji will be competing for the cup till the last day.
No, sir.
Ooh.
Yeah. Basically, all of our bad predictions just resulted around people who thought Shodai would do good. I'm now realizing as I'm looking at this as a whole.
Yep.
Kai Flick said Shodai and Mitaki Yumi will both have 10 and 5 records. And
real quick, Kai, if you are actually dyslexic and meant to type that the other way around, contact us, because then you might be in the running for the t-shirt.
yeah. And then Mephissi said Shodai 12 and 3 Yusho. So those are all painfully bad predictions. But Mephissi did also have a
some
good
redemption.
prediction, as Mephissi did predict Asanoyama suffers his first defeat and will not be promoted to Juryo.
Well done.
We also had Dan Nakashima said that no Rikishi would be out due to COVID in the top division. I don't think we had any Rikishi out in any division. So good prediction there for Dan. And then Damoon Rules had another great prediction. The wrestlers are urged by the JSA to reduce the size of salt throws to save money. On day 4, however, the salt layer on top of the dohyo is thin enough that an evil spirit breaks through. Posture lady does not flinch.
Ooh.
I've always kind of been like a little bit suspicious that she's a yokai herself.
Yes.
So
It's
I'm
the
just
spirit of the
saying.
ring.
Yeah.
The JSA tried to brush this under the rug. I mean, it happened like down in Jonokuchi before anybody was really there. Anybody's watching the TV.
Mhm.
It happened. We know we're JSA West, so we get the memos. We know it happened. We know they're trying to keep it under the rug.
We've seen it. We saw it.
Damoon Rules called it out, and we've got to give him props for that great prediction.
Yep. The Yobidashi can't sweep this one away.
Yeah.
Nope.
Only 3 casualties. So
It's okay. It's all right though.
So considered mild.
yeah. All right. I'm gonna need some help to figure out our t-shirt winner. First up, we have Edward Beloff, who, among other things, predicted a Tamawashi Yusho. And then we also have Bara Vesio, who got a few interesting things right. More wins for Midori Fuji than Ichinojo. I would say very bold, and it happened.
Mhm.
June Yusho for 2 Rikishi with Taka in their names. We had Waka
very
Takakage
specific.
and
That's like
Takayasu.
half the bonds.
But still.
But still.
And then also Terano Fuji Kyujo. So
Mm.
do we want to reward Bara Vesio for those 3 bold and correct predictions, or do we want to award Edward Beloff for the Tamawashi Yusho poll?
I think the Midori Fuji, thinking that they got more wins than Ichinojo, I think that was pretty good. But the Tamawashi Yusho, that's just out of nowhere.
That's where my vote was gonna go.
I gotta go with that one because it was the only thing that Edward Beloff submitted for that, and wow, bold, very bold.
All the eggs in that basket. Yeah.
All right. So Edward Beloff, we will be in contact with you to get you set up for your free Grand Sumo Breakdown t-shirt. Congratulations. So we'll move on to the GSB Awards. As your award that you wrote out comes up in the outline, feel free to announce it. I will take this first one, Jake. We've kind of co-wrote this one. The Olay Award. This almost almost went to Ura for sidestepping Daisho at the Tawara on day 3 until that picture perfect hanka by Takakeisho. So congratulations, Takakeisho, on stealing the Ole award, much like you stole that match from Hokuto Fuji.
Looking forward to his follow-up career in bullfighting.
Yeah. The comeback award goes to Wakamoto Haru for his not one, but 2 Uchadi victories on day 1 and day 3. Then we also had the Boom Headshot Award. This one also going to Takakeisho for absolutely destroying Koto Nawaka's face with haymakers on day 4.
Jesus. The Karma Award goes to this is probably the least suspenseful one. Waka Takakage re-henkaing Takakeisho. It needed an award.
Absolutely.
The Crack in the Armor Award. We have Ura almost earned this one on day 3 as well, when he kind of celebrated. Oh, shoot, I'm not supposed to celebrate. But a finalist came through on day 15 when Tobizaru won his final match, earning him a special prize, and just grinned like a big idiot the whole time. It's one of those, when a little bit of that emotion shows through, it's just that much more special because it almost never happens. But Tobizaru was well past being able to control that.
Yeah. And then we have our match of the basho. The candidates for it this time are on day 2, Shodai versus Kiri Bayama. It was a match where before Shodai gave up, and he had Kiri Bayama on the ropes multiple times, but Kiri Bayama was able to come back and win the match. We have day 4, that Ura versus Takuto Fuji match. Honestly, don't remember what led up to it, but the Tsutsai at the end for Ura automatically makes it a match of the basho candidate. Also on day 4, that slap fest between Takakeisho and Koto Nawaka made it up there. Day 7, Midori Fuji versus Hoshoryu, an upset as Midori Fuji takes down Hoshoryu in an entertaining bout. And then day 9, Takayasu versus Terano Fuji. This is our match of the basho winner. Takayasu did what you need to do against Terano Fuji in this match. He kind of looked like a bigger version of Tobizaru and Ura out there, just kind of keeping the Yokozuna at bay, just biding his time to find the right opportunity to shove the Yokozuna out.
Using that movement. And part of the reason that I voted for this one is because we nailed it. We nailed that prediction the day before when we recorded our midway. We were like, Takayasu, he's got a good record against Terano Fuji. He's looking better than him this basho. And despite his size, we know that he can move. And one of the things we'd identified that was giving Terano Fuji trouble was lateral movement. Takayasu is, disproportionately quick. So we nailed the prediction. It's my favorite guy. And it was a spectacular match. That I had to vote for that one.
Yeah, it was a great match of good history, and just great big boy sumo. It was a good time.
All right. So, Jake, why don't you dive into your book review for The Way of Salt?
Sounds good. So I just grabbing my notes. We're moving things around. Mac had to step away for a moment real quick. But we also know that Mac can't read, so there's no real point to do the book review while he's here. But here it is. The Way of Salt, Sumo and the Culture of Japan by Ash Warren. It is, I believe, available now. It was on pre-order when it was sent to us, but I believe it is released now. But yeah, you can find this. I think Big Sumo Fan has some, and it should be available through, I don't know about Amazon, but it's out there. You'll find it. But I do want to make it clear, I am not like a literary critic or anything. I'm not super knowledgeable on this. All I can say is how much I enjoyed it. I'm not going to give it a rating or anything like that. I'll just say I would recommend this book if you are interested in more of the philosophical side of sumo, and more so than sumo, the culture of Japan that defines what sumo is. It's in a way, it's kind of like a psychoanalysis of an entire culture through the lens of this sport that is so defining of who Japan is as a people, So it talks about differences in how we perceive our hobbies, our pursuits, our passions. One of the main points that that this book tries to help us through is understand, like I said, about the henka. Why is doing something that gives you a good chance of winning bad? And it all comes down to kind of this difference in philosophy where, let's say, Ryan, you want to start, what's a hobby you want to start? Like, say you want to,
Podcasting.
what's your goal when you start doing podcasting? Do you want to reach
Worldwide acclaim.
There you go. You have a goal of like, I want this many downloads on my episodes, or I want to be able to do this or whatever. But you kind of define it as not just I want to do podcasting, and it takes a little while to get through this idea, but the example that he gives as like a Japanese equivalent is like the more so than sumo, something like the tea ceremony is something that the author is well versed in, and it's just a thing that you do. There's not necessarily like benchmarks or specific goals that define when you are good enough. You just do it, and that is the act of achieving. The achieving is just the doing, and doing it properly, doing it the traditional acceptable way. And so if you look at sumo from that side of things, yeah, a henka isn't the proper way. It's not like the way that when somebody starts sumo, they're not necessarily looking to, I want to beat Takakeisho on day 13 of the tournament. They're more looking, I want to do sumo properly, and I want to look at it through the lens of there is a correct way to exercise this activity. So that
sounds very process oriented opposed to goal orientated.
Exactly. And that's something that he tries to emphasize as something that is not as intuitive for Westerners to relate to. Because this is one of the things I had about the book. I wouldn't call it a criticism, but one thing where I kind of like had different thoughts that I may disagree on here a little bit. But when you're talking about something that's less defined by results, so like the tea ceremony or something like that, there is like rules for how you do it properly, but your livelihood doesn't depend on results versus doing it properly, right? So sumo you could look at as doing it properly means not doing henkas, right? But what if I don't get paid next month? Because like, what if this henka is the only way I can get my paycheck? And like having the bansuke, moving up and down the bansuke is so important to the actual livelihoods and like the rest of their lives. Like for some wrestlers, they might be on the cusp of being able to stay in the sumo association and that is dependent specifically on winning or losing. So like that's something where I think that sumo has may not be the perfect example of this philosophy, but it is definitely the book definitely gave me a good insight on how doing sumo the correct way and the traditional way is success. More so than the win or the loss. It is successful if you do it right and you do it in the way it's always been done and the way that your oyakata teaches you to do it and things like that. So like it's really good for me. What I really liked about the book was the philosophy of it, teaching us like, this is why Hakuho got veiled death threats for winning a Yusho by a henka, as opposed to like people being like, he did what he had to do to win, right? Winning isn't the goal as much as doing it right. So I don't know. That was like the main, if I had to try and distill a thesis statement out of what does this book teach us about sumo, it would kind of be that.
That sounds like something that is well worth the read for, like you said, for people like us. We view this
definitely
as a sport, like very much built this podcast. Like for me, I kind of want it to feel like driving home after work, listening to your local sports radio show.
Yeah.
And so
and I think that we're all on the same page. That's our goal. That's like what we want to be like. And I think we do a good job of that mode, but that's not everybody. That's not where everybody's coming from.
Like that's how we're viewing it from a Western viewpoint. Eastern viewpoint, it is very much different than that. It's much like what you described in that book. And I think that would be a great read for us to kind of take a look at, get a better idea of how other people view this sport beyond just a competition and
Yeah.
talking about who does the best, who won, and all of that stuff, because that's not. I would say that's not what sumo is about. It's kind of process first, results secondary is kind of how it's viewed, and we view it in a completely opposite viewpoint.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the way that sumo is set up with its extraordinarily strict method of moving up and down the ranks. And your pay and your future and everything depends on moving up those ranks. It's very easy to look at it as a purely results driven sport, but you also have to understand the culture of where it comes from to appreciate why the Rikishi act the way they do. It's why whether a guy's coming off the dojo for his 12th loss or his 12th win or something, his interview afterwards will be, I'm just trying to do my brand of sumo and take it one day at a time, because the result is less important than him doing his brand of sumo. His brand of sumo is the way that he wants the match to go, the way that he feels the proper way to do the sport is. Like, you're not going to see Hakuho come off after doing that henka to win the Yusho and be like, I just did my brand of sumo. Like, even he who did the thing isn't going to say that was my brand of sumo, right? Like, that was, we all know that wasn't like the proper way to do it, even if you get a giant macaron for it. So
giant macarons make everything worth it.
That's a good point.
But
You can justify anything.
But making them that big, though, that is a challenge that has been a continual thing for me. I'm like, okay, how can I make this
have we determined, is that like a real factual edible macaron, or is that just like spray painted cardboard?
It's not
it's definitely plastic.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I'm not trying to make one, because I have wasted so much almond flour in my kitchen. You guys know I like to experiment with stuff.
Ryan, it's not about the result, the size of the macaroon. It's about the method,
it's about the journey,
the process.
Yes, it is totally the journey of making this thing.
If the gods intended macarons to be that Big Mac, we would have them already.
I will try, damn it.
A couple other points I want to make on
things that not should be meddled with.
No.
The Jurassic Park line about they only asked if they could, not if they should.
Yeah.
A couple other points I want to make on this. Similar to the idea of just the process being the goal. One of the things that is highly valued from a Japanese side of things that I didn't really understand or appreciate as much is that the results are less important than not just like doing the process correctly, but also the mindset of being dedicated and sincere. So like, do you guys remember Takumi Sakuri?
Yeah.
I recognize the name, but I don't remember what for.
He was Akebono's stablemate who would like slap himself and RoboCop. He would like walk all like,
okay.
He'd be really goofy, but at no point did anyone ever doubt that he was 100% there to do sumo as hard as possible.
He's one of the Shippan. He's one of the side judges. He's the tall one.
He's the guy that had that big look on his face. What was the thing that happened in the last basho where he had that? Like,
Ooh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. He was like,
oh. Yeah, it was something like that.
It was the hair pull. It was a hair pull.
It was the hair pull. That's what it was.
Yeah, the incredibly blatant Chio Tairyu hair pull in the match. That
and you zoom in on this one Shimpan's face.
And Takumi Sakuri's face. He's like,
whoa. Yeah, that was him. But like that dedication, that sincerity is a word that comes up a lot. And that's similar to like the idea of fighting spirit. Because you could look at Takakeisho absolutely slapping the piss out of somebody as fighting spirit. But from the Japanese standpoint, as described in this book, you can also look at fighting spirit as Mitakayumi has lost his rank, but he's still going to show up every day. He's still going to be dedicated. He's going to sincerely give it his best. And knowing him and knowing that that's the kind of guy he is, like, it made it very clear, like, he's injured, right? Like we didn't cover it like super in depth, but like he's clearly hurt.
Something's
right?
going
like,
on.
Otherwise he would at least be trying. That fighting spirit of like doing the thing and being dedicated to the thing.
Yeah, when Mitakayumi gets a losing record, it's like 7-8, 6-9. He's not a 4-11 kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Without
so like
something
this was
externally being wrong.
Exactly. So there's clearly something wrong. But yeah, so I guess what I would say, beyond just that like philosophical explanation, some other things about the book that I liked were the chapters are named after specific elements of sumo, starting from the beginning of like the match. Let me just read it out. So it starts with Yobidashi, the call to the dohyo is chapter 1. And then, it moves on to chapters like Tachiai, Bansuke, Senpai. But like what it's using are these sumo concepts to talk about that part of Japanese culture. This isn't a book that if you haven't watched any sumo, a lot of this might go over your head. But if you've watched a little sumo, or if you've watched a lot of sumo but aren't super familiar with Japanese culture like the way we are, there's definitely a lot to get out of this. And it's funny. It's easy to read. There's a ton of pictures. What I really liked is that this is probably the first piece of actual sumo literature I've held in my hands that's less than like 30 years old or something, that's written in English. Like the Laura Sharnoff book is one that you see a lot. I think it's just called Grand Sumo or something. A lot of people reference that. It's like 40 years old. I think Akebono was at the top when that one was written. There's stuff out there, but not a lot that's like current. And this relates to current events. Teruno Fuji's already a Yokozuna in this book. COVID is already a thing in this book. Like it's a right now book. And it that's not to say that it will not age well. That's just to say, like, it gives examples that we can relate to right now. And like I said, it's funny too. I'd love to meet Ash someday because he is pretty good. In his chapter, it's not a whole chapter, but there's a segment here that I wanted to read, a real brief segment about the henka. Ash is not a fan of the henka. It's not the proper way. You don't do it that way. But that's not to say that he's, stodgy about it and doesn't think that, there's more to it. He says the henka lives in a gray area in sumo. For example, if Yokozuna used the henka like Hakuho once famously did to win a tournament, the NSK will issue a stern reprimand, which, when you think about it, is extremely weird because they are censuring a Rikshi for a legal move. If a rank and file Maegashira wrestler does a henka in front of an ozeki or Yokozuna, it is seen as, wait for it, bad manners. All this begs the question: if it is bad manners and worthy of censure, and the fans hate it, why does the NSK continue to allow it? Such are the mysteries of the East. I laughed out loud at that. That's hilarious. Like that's kind of like the sarcasm without being like dismissive or disrespectful. There's a decent amount of that in here. But yeah, there's definitely a lot you can get out of this. And like I mentioned, if you haven't watched sumo, some of this might go over your head, but it's still like it's still very accessible, and it's still got a lot of like fun facts and things like that for the experienced sumo watcher. In like the bow twirling ceremony, that they do at the end, like it's he walks through like the symbolic meaning, but like a fun fact I didn't know was if he drops the bow, he cannot pick it up with his hands. He has to use his feet to lift it off the ground, because a hand touching the doyo, that's you losing.
Not allowed.
Oh.
So little intricacies like that are built into are built into what is all in all a very easy to read, lighthearted, but very philosophically insightful book. I'd recommend it. Again, I'm no literary critic, but I feel like if you're listening to the show, you know me well enough to know, like, if I like it, there's
some merit. There's some merit to it.
Well, no, but I mean, like, if you like this show, then we probably are similar enough that you will probably also like the book. How about that?
But what if we hate you, Jake?
Then do not buy this book.
That is
Don't buy
very
this
relevant
book
to
if you hate
me.
Yeah.
Fleric, how dare you say
Ryan,
that
don't
to your
bother.
Yokozuna?
Okay.
How dare you, Sukebito?
I'm sorry.
Fleric?
What if we hate you, Yokozuna, Jake?
That's right. You give him the respect.
Well, Sukebito Fleric, you can get another perspective on it. Sumo Kaboom had an interview with Ash recently, and I would recommend checking that out. It's about an hour long. When I was listening to it, it's about halfway through, they like wrap up talking about the book, and they're like, okay, well, thanks for having, it's been fun and all that. And then another half hour of just chatting.
Nice.
I mean, we've done enough interviews. We know that's kind of how that goes sometimes. But
Ash, Leslie and Lori are just they're in love. So
yeah, and Ash is a pretty fun guy. He's it's a fun interview to watch, to get to know the guy, especially for me, having read the book and like kind of got to know his style of humor and things like that. It's fun to and it's just a good interview. Sumo Kaboom are great at getting people to talk about what makes them interested in sumo and stuff. They're great interviewers. But again, The Way of Salt, Ash Warren, I believe it is released now to anybody who wants to get it. But look around, you'll find it.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah, it's under 200 pages, bunch of pictures. I read it in like 2 days. Fun read, quick read. I liked it.
All right.
There you have it. And now I want nothing more than to see a bow twirler drop the bow and have to pick it up with his toes.
Well, we already got a Gyoji putting the gunbai in his mouth as he was going to
I think
retie.
that's standard. I think
Yeah.
that
But I
part
know
is
that, but we
standard.
haven't seen that before. So it was like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
now we need to see this.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
We'll transition now to our favorite moment of the basho. I'll kick things off and I'll just simply say the karma hanka.
I was up there.
Definitely.
What about you, Jake?
I mean, I'm glad that you picked that one so that I can pick Takayasu beating Teruno Fuji. That was sub favorite moment of the basho, Takayasu beating Hokuto Fuji, just for personal reasons.
We've been civil so far. Let's not degrade this at
We
the
have
end.
been sports rivals for everything we can find that we disagree on, which is very little in the realm of sports. We've been sports rivals for like a decade, Ryan. Of course, when I have this gap that I can put a wedge in, of course I'm going to do it.
I will continue to take the high road this basho. No, I honestly have nothing bad to say about Takayasu in this basho.
Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic and we're about to take the low road.
No.
As is your way.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry to take so long. Who's next?
Whoever wants to. Flair or Mac, somebody talk first. I don't care.
All right. I just the total falling apart of Hokuto Fuji was just fantastic.
At 2, Fleric.
I had to say that because the double hanka was just fantastic. The first one that had me laughing so much. The second one just had me laughing all that much more. It was just, It was fantastic. I love it. Give me more. Give me more hankas.
They need to be sparing like this. I think one major one every 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, then it's nothing.
It's too
fun
much
to talk about. Yeah. So
Yeah, sure. Like some guy at like 7-4 who's otherwise struggling or something like that, henking to get his 8th win. Sure, fine. We'll see one of those every basho or two. But like,
Or we could just have one basho.
or
Nothing but hankas.
we could have just
nothing but hankas.
oops, all hankas.
For me, I would say Tamawashi clinching it. I loved going into day 14, Takayasu hot on his heels, the playoff, if you want to call it that. It's like
Potential
Takayasu
for a
choking
playoff,
a little bit, but the potential playoff, the hype that was
We've
with it. It
gotten
was like,
this far without that word coming up, Mac.
I do not classify this as a choke.
Oh,
no, I
Dip,
didn't say choke. Wait, did I say choke?
You
I don't
did.
know.
You literally
he
said the
he
word
failed.
choke.
He fell. It didn't work. It didn't quite work.
Yes, I may be hypersensitive for that word coming up, but you did say it.
Okay, well, fine. Anyway, totally did. But just the idea going into the last day, just the hype that was surrounding it, like that was great. And then Tamawashi clinching it, bravo.
It was a solid Yusho race.
All right. So that is going to wrap up our Aki. I was about to say Aki, then I'm like, no, it's not Aki. But yes,
Yes, it's Aki. It's September.
As is tradition, we have to get ourselves confused on our sign off somehow or other.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is our recap of the Aki basho. It was indeed wacky, as we all
Wacky Aki.
The next basho coming up will be the Kyushu basho. That will begin on Sunday, November 13th. We will have the Bansuke prediction out sometime next week. We'll have plenty of amateur stuff in between this basho and the next basho. So plenty of stuff coming from Grand Sumo Breakdown between the tournaments. That's all we've got to say. Fleric, yell sumo at the people.
Sumo.
At the people.
At the people.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.